Just because I secretly posted a wedding photo on my social media feed without excluding Sarah Green, the one he could never have. Robert Miller auctioned his wedding night on his social media feed the next day. After the wedding, when I found Robert Miller in a private dining room, phone in hand, he was haggling with his friends. $1 million for the night, not a cent less. Robert, even if Emily Carter is still a virgin, that price is way too high. Too high? What are you talking about? This is my brand new wife, the real deal. More money. You have to pay more. They burst into laughter. Seriously, Robert, you're not going to spend your wedding night with her. Aren't you afraid Emily Carter will get mad? Whose fault is it she deliberately tried to show off in front of Sarah Green? I was already upset I couldn't marry the woman I loved. Besides, got this. Robert Miller produced a sheet of white pills. My phone dropped to the floor, and my tears fell too. Robert, that social media post of yours auctioning your wedding night must have hundreds of likes by now. Robert Miller curved his lips into a smile, nodding smugly. Pretty much. Aren't you afraid Emily Carter will find out and cause trouble? I'll just say it was a joke. What's she going to do, really? His friends clasped their hands together, flattering him. Robert's charm is truly something. How else could Emily Carter have ended up pursuing him? But how did Emily Carter manage to tick you off so much that you'd actually auction off your wedding night experience? Robert Miller raised an eyebrow, pleased to hear his charm praised. Whose fault is it she showed off to Sarah Green? Not being able to marry Sarah Green is the regret of my life. If I don't teach her a lesson this time, there's no telling how she'll rub it in Sarah Green's face later. Robert Miller kept his head down, scrolling through his phone. Suddenly, his lips curled. Found it, he said, lifting the phone. Aunt say it's not worth it now. These are Emily Carter's intimate photos. Look at these tits, look at this ass. Isn't this body worth it? His friends wolf whistled and cheered incessantly. I wanted to rush in and shut him up, but my body wouldn't stop trembling. It felt like something was stuck in my throat, aching and stinging. Robert Miller and I had been engaged since we were very young. 3 years ago, the Miller family's finances hit a snag, and Robert Miller suddenly appeared in my world. After falling in love at first sight, I launched a full-on pursuit. Soon, he became my boyfriend. When I was with him, my fish was always deboned, my shrimp peeled, car doors were opened for me, and when ordering, I didn't even have to say what I liked. His thoughtfulness and consideration made me the object of everyone's envy. Seeing my parents so happy, their help to the Miller family increased. They not only helped them open up the semiconductor market but also secured 2 major deals for them. Our wedding was also put on the agenda. A month before the wedding, a woman named Sarah Green suddenly showed up, claiming repeatedly that she was Robert Miller's true love. How did Robert Miller react then? He cautiously knelt before me, his eyes full of anxiety and grievance. Emily, don't listen to Sarah Green's nonsense. I only love you. Don't let her know what we do from now on, it'll be too troublesome. I believed it was just as he said, that Sarah Green was doing it all willingly on her own, but now, I posted a wedding photo of myself on my social media feed and forgot to exclude Sarah Green. As a result, that evening she posted a sad video, drunk. In the video, her eyes were red-rimmed, tears rolling down her cheeks, a teardrop glistening on the tip of her nose, making her look utterly pathetic. That night, Robert Miller was carried home by his friends, completely drunk and unconscious. Anxiously, I asked what was wrong. One friend glanced at me and said, "See, I'll marry the woman he loves, that's all." At the time, I didn't understand what that meant. Looking back now, it was an omen. Sarah Green was the woman deep in Robert Miller's heart, and I was just a necessary choice to help the Miller family rebuild. I stumbled out of the venue in a daze, the redness in my eyes stinging. My parents' parting words and instructions echoed in my ears. I'm sorry, I didn't make myself happy. I chose someone who didn't love me. Because he didn't love me, he didn't care about my reputation, he didn't care about my feelings, turning me into a laughingstock, making my most anticipated wedding night the biggest joke. I walked back to our house alone. Looking at the wedding suite I had meticulously decorated and the sleepwear I had specially chosen for our wedding night, I covered my face, tears streaming out from between my fingers. Until the phone rang. Emily, where are you? I wiped away my tears. I'm in. With a bang, the door to the wedding suite was kicked open. Robert, Emily's in the wedding suite by herself. Too, looking at the dozen or so people flooding in, my hand trembled, and my phone fell to the ground. I quickly brought my hands up to protect my chest. Don't be shy, Emily. A man swaggered forward, his reek of alcohol making me feel nauseous. Seeing the silk pajamas placed on my bed, he picked them up with a finger, a lewd grin twisting his lips. Robert said, for the wedding night, he wanted us guys to come and liven things up. I'm warning you. Get out of here right now. There are security cameras in the room. I forced myself to sound calm. To my horror, the man in the lead seemed even more excited by my reaction. He plunked himself down beside me, sizing me up. What's with the pretense? Your husband's off with another woman on your wedding night. Exactly. You've already taken pictures showing half your tits, why act pure now? Pure? Someone pure would have her husband auction her wedding night? I think the slutty, wild girl in her bones is the real deal. That's not true. Tears streamed down like a broken string of pearls. The intimate photos were taken by my best friend, and I only sent them to Robert Miller. The men suddenly lost interest in teasing me. Just as they were about to lay hands on me, laughter came from the doorway. Oh dear, how could I miss Robert's big wedding day? It was Sarah Green's voice. The moment she entered, she saw me surrounded by a circle of men and raised an eyebrow. And I immediately saw the hickey on her collarbone. Meeting her eyes, the triumphant look in them made me wonder if this was deliberate. I'm so sorry, Emily Carter, I'm late. My puppy at home was just too clingy. As she said this, she brushed a strand of hair off her shoulder. Robert Miller's wedding ring, how was it on her hand? Sarah Green somehow produced 2 glasses of wine. She offered one to me. I unexpectedly missed your ceremony today, so let me apologize with this drink. The men's laughter came again. Robert, this isn't good. Sarah Green still has the energy to come here and declare her dominance over Emily Carter? What the hell do you know? The Miller family is going public soon. What use will the Carter family be then? Of course, they'll just be kicked to the curb. I kept shrinking back, the pills Robert Miller had in his hand flashing in my mind. God knows if Sarah Green had put something in that drink. Take it away. I'm not drinking. I raised my voice, which only drew more laughter. Emily Carter, are you refusing to give me face? Sarah Green grabbed my wrist, pulling me towards her. She leaned close to my ear. Sorry, but Robert Miller's wedding night, we had it early. As for yours, scared I'd spike your drink? Emily Carter, the drug was already in it. It was in the toast you and Robert Miller shared. Boom. My mind exploded. The scene from the wedding flashed before my eyes. Emily, let's share a toast. Robert Miller's eyes, full of affection, had captivated me. I swallowed the blush on my face and drank it all down. So, back then, that's when he drugged me? Emily? A familiar voice called out. Robert Miller walked in, a gentle smile on his face. Today, unusually, he had buttoned up his shirt, but the faint hickeys hinted at what he had just been doing. I bit my lip, my nails digging deep into my palm, the stinging pain a sharp reminder. Robert Miller sat beside me and gently lowered my hand. What are you doing? These are all my friends. Don't you trust us? Suddenly, things in front of me became blurry. A hot current surged through my lower abdomen, making me feel flushed and feverish all over. Whoa. Robert, the drug is kicking in? Robert, is this okay? The man asked cautiously. Robert Miller smiled. Of course. The Carter family has run into some issues recently, they won't recover anytime soon. Be bold, I'll back you up. With my last ounce of sanity, I grabbed Robert Miller's arm, tears flowing like a broken string of pearls. Robert Miller, tell me, why? Why are you doing this to me? I gave you all of my heart, why would you treat me like this? Robert Miller's eyes were bloodshot. He squeezed my chin. Emily Carter, hasn't your Carter family done enough despicable things? This is just the beginning. You'll have plenty more to suffer later. He flung his hand away, and my body, weak from the drug, was thrown onto the bed. Robert Miller didn't look back, wrapping his arm around Sarah Green as they left the wedding suite. As they left, Sarah Green turned and looked at me, her eyes full of triumph. Help! Help! I wanted to cover myself, but my arms were too weak and heavy. Soon, my body was exposed to the air. I wanted to escape, but someone grabbed my ankle. With a tug, I was dragged to the edge of the bed, and hands reached out towards me. I bit down hard on my tongue, pressing with all my might until the taste of iron filled my mouth. Finally, I regained some strength. I remembered that my mom, for protection, used to put a pair of scissors under my pillow. Only that could save me. The drug made me pant constantly, and the surging heat brought on hallucinations. I continued biting down, threads of blood trickling from the corner of my mouth. The man in front grabbed my chin and slapped me hard across the face. You bitch, why are you pretending to be a virtuous martyr? My hand finally found the object under the pillow. Stay away from me. I pulled out the scissors and brandished them at everyone. Oh, she's got tools. What? Emily Carter, do you like playing SM? We can play with you then? The men weren't scared of the object in my hand at all. Some even laughed out loud. I used all my strength to shrink into a corner, wrapping my arms around myself. I raised the scissors and stabbed myself in the stomach. The noisy chatter immediately stopped. Without giving them time to react, I aimed again and stabbed a second time. The pain clashed with the drug's effects, and I became increasingly clear-headed. You want me dead? I'll give you what you want. The bed was covered in blood, merging with the red sheets. I grew weaker and weaker until I lost consciousness from excessive blood loss. For the strong smell of disinfectant made me frown. As I opened my eyes and saw a familiar figure, my nose stung and I burst into tears. Emily, let's move to another city. My mom, her eyes red and swollen, looked at me cautiously. My dad stood beside her, his face stern, but the glistening moisture in his eyes betrayed him. He gritted his teeth. That bastard. How dare he do such a thing? Everything from last night flooded my mind, the memories sending waves of nausea into my throat. But seeing my parents' worried and pained expressions, I could only pretend nothing had happened. Okay. I actually wanted to experience living somewhere else anyway. When do we leave? Emily. The hospital room door opened. When Bert Miller came in, my dad's forehead veins bulged. He stepped forward and slapped him hard, cursing through clenched teeth. You animal. We were blind to entrust our daughter to you. Robert Miller pushed his tongue against his cheek, his face turning dark and terrifying. I'm an animal? Wasn't it animalistic when your Carter family ruined our Miller family and then pretended to help us rebuild just to get free shares? You, who told you about the Miller family's troubles and the Carter family's involvement? Robert Miller scoffed, looking around. Stop pretending. By the way, just so you know, Sarah's pregnant. It's a boy. That child will inherit everything I have in the future. Bastard. You did that terrible thing to Emily, and now you're talking about having a child? My mom bit her lip, trembling all over. I was in the hospital bed. The slightest movement pulled up my wound, causing agonizing pain. Robert Miller's words repeated in my mind, and suddenly I understood. Robert Miller, this was all planned by you, wasn't it? Robert Miller glanced at me. Pretty smart, Emily Carter. Sarah Green was illegitimate. Robert Miller and I had a prior engagement. For her to be pregnant wouldn't have been legitimate. But if I became someone lower than her, she could openly give birth to that child. It would be revenge on me and elevate Sarah Green's status. I looked up at the man I had loved for 3 years and just felt it was ridiculous. My dad, who had calmed down slightly, suddenly grabbed the flower pot from the table and swung it at Robert Miller. Robert Miller frowned, grabbed my dad's arm with one hand, and with a slight squeeze, my dad cried out in pain. Robert Miller. I tried to get up, but pulled up my wound, wincing in pain. Emily Carter. Are you agreeing or not? Robert Miller's face was impatient, his grip tightening on my dad's arm. My dad had just had surgery a few months ago. Okay. I agree. Robert Miller released his and, satisfied, and brushed off some dust from his clothes. That's better. The Carter family probably doesn't have any usable money left, huh? Don't worry, just put it all on my tab, ha ha ha. My dad and my mom hugged me, the three of us crying together. I don't know what connections my dad used, but everything was arranged by the third day. Half a month later, after spending time with Sarah Green, Robert Miller finally remembered me. When he pushed open the door, he saw an empty hospital bed. Doctor, where's the person who was in this bed? They were discharged a long time ago. Five Dad, you don't have to stay with me every day. I'm fine. We had been living here for 3 months. I hadn't stepped out of the house. My parents were worried about me and took turns staying home to watch over me. My dad frowned, came close to me, and after repeatedly checking that I hadn't been crying, he sighed. When David Chin came back, he saw the company's problems right away. Later, we used the strategy of cutting off the supply, transferring all important business here. We originally planned to use the chaos in the Carter family to find out who was behind everything, but we didn't expect. Emily, Dad is sorry. My dad's sobbing came through. Dad wasn't someone who used to cry so easily. I looked up at this man who had worked hard for our family his entire life. I'm really okay, Dad. You don't need to blame yourself. He would have gotten his revenge on me somehow anyway. What difference would it have made if the Carter family hadn't had issues? Another year, 2 years? There's no escaping it. It's better this way, knowing what kind of person he is sooner rather than later, cutting my losses in time. David, I'm here. A familiar voice appeared at the door. David Chen hadn't even entered yet, but I could already smell a rich aroma. David, whose cake did you get me today? David Chen's laughter rang out. You and that nose of yours, the one on the corner of his street. I heard the owner studied overseas, and their mousse is amazing. With David here, my dad didn't have to keep watching me. Looking at the man getting a knife and fork from the kitchen, I gave a wry smile. No one was blind, it was impossible not to see his feelings for me, but the photos and videos from that day had been leaked early on. Although my dad and David used connections to take down many accounts, some people still posted them. Even my old friends started reaching out, asking about it. Seeing their mockery and schadenfreude, my heart ached. I had always been good to them, why were they kicking me when I was down? David just patted my shoulder. Some people are just like that. Even if you just stand there and do nothing, they'll hate you for no reason. What are you thinking about? David snapped his fingers in front of me. Eat up. I picked up my fork, looking at the man in front of me. He was a kid my dad had once sponsored. He even lived with us for a while when he came to the city for school. Later, he moved overseas with his parents, made his fortune there, and after the pandemic, gradually shifted his business back home. Such a good man. I wasn't worthy of him. I smiled self-deprecatingly. I decided to make things clear. David, Suddenly, an urgent knocking on the door interrupted me. David got up. Maybe it's a delivery. But the moment he opened the door, a familiar voice called out. Emily Carter? Where's Emily Carter? I instinctively started trembling, the laughter of those men flashing in my mind again. Emily Carter, what are you doing here? Come on, come back with me. Robert Miller's face was ashen, and he reached out to grab my wrist. Let go. David's fist swung out. Robert Miller, completely unprepared, took the full force of the punch. Seeing Robert Miller grinding his teeth, he must have been hit pretty hard. Robert Miller wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and stood up. Seeing David and I holding hands, his eyes suddenly turned cold. Emily Carter, you're really something. How long has it been since we separated, and you're already in another man's bed? Robert Miller, wasn't this exactly what you wanted? I lifted my chin. My affairs have nothing to do with you anymore. My lawyer will contact you about the divorce papers later. Impossible. I won't agree to a divorce. 6. It doesn't matter if you agree or not. I suddenly lost my temper too. Get out of my house. Now. Immediately. Right this instant. Robert Miller stared at me, his eyes full of disbelief. I even caught a flicker of sadness. Could someone like him feel sad? During the 3 years we were together, I had always spoken and acted gently. We never argued, and I never said a harsh word to him. But what did I get in return? My wedding night auctioned by my husband, my drink spiked during our shared toast, my clothes ripped off by strangers, and finally, to avoid being harmed further, I stabbed myself with scissors, nearly dying from blood loss. After hurting me like that, he expects me to be grateful and love him the way I used to? Robert Miller stared at me intensely. Your family almost ruined mine. What's wrong with me taking something back from you? When your family teamed up with others to hurt us. Robert Miller. It had been a long time since I'd called his full name. I told you, my family didn't do that. A sharp light flashed in Robert Miller's eyes. You say your family didn't, and that's it? Ding dong. The doorbell rang again. David glanced back at me. He still looked worried, so he took my hand and we went to open the door together. When we opened the door, a familiar figure stood there. Miss Carter, this is from Mr. Carter for you. Manager Green, what are you doing here? Robert Miller suddenly stepped forward, all his previous arrogance gone. He bent slightly and offered his hand. The person outside straightened up. The two exchanged pleasantries for a while. Then Robert Miller suddenly asked Manager Green why she was there. Manager Green pointed at me. This is our CEO's beloved daughter. I'm here to bring her something. Even from behind, I could see Robert Miller frozen in place. He stood there like a statue for quite a while. It wasn't until Manager Green said she had to go that Robert Miller gave an awkward laugh and watched Manager Green leave. Robert Miller turned back to me, his eyes full of confusion. Emily Carter, your family didn't go bankrupt at all? There was even a hint of accusation in his tone. By what right was he questioning me like this? Before I could speak, David stepped forward. Robert Miller, how on earth did you manage to get to this position with that brain of yours? Good at being born, so you used up all your brain capacity in advance? You. Robert Miller was about to get physical again, but I suddenly stepped in front of David, holding up my hands in a protective gesture. Robert Miller's eyes narrowed sharply. Emily Carter, do you even know whose wife you are? I froze for a moment, the tears in my eyes held back. Robert Miller, on our wedding night, your wife died. What? You don't know what you did yourself? Robert Miller raised his hand. So what if I did? Your family. Snap. David somehow produced a thick folder and slammed it down in front of Robert Miller. Robert Miller, it's quite impressive how easily everyone can fool you. Take a good look, see who really ruined your family, and whose son that precious little boy of yours actually is. Robert Miller froze, then picked up the folder from the ground. He opened the first page, his eyes turning cold. The further he flipped, the more evident the shock in Robert Miller's eyes became. Impossible. Sarah Green, she. David snorted, his eyes full of contempt, and finished Robert Miller's sentence for him. She was forced to go overseas by your parents back then, and she even aborted your child for you. She came back hoping to rekindle your relationship. Robert Miller, if you had a brain, you'd ask your parents instead of raging here. For once, Robert Miller didn't argue back. He turned and walked away. At the door, he looked back at me. Emily, I'll come back for you in a while. I turned my head away in disgust. After he left, I looked at David, my face full of questions. Although I knew Sarah Green was manipulative, I still couldn't figure out exactly what she had done. David looked at me with sympathy. Sometimes, the jealousy of people close to you is the most terrifying. It turned out, this was all a scheme orchestrated by Sarah Green and Robert Miller's friends, targeted solely at Robert Miller. 7 Back when the Miller family's decline first showed signs, Sarah Green saw her dream of marrying into wealth crumbling. To latch onto a better prospect, she resolutely went overseas. She was certain Robert Miller wouldn't ask his parents, so she fabricated a story about his parents breaking them up. But what she didn't expect was that in her first year overseas, the Miller family, with my family's help, rebuilt and even opened up new market sectors, achieving unprecedented success for a time. Meanwhile, Sarah Green overseas was with an old white man in his 50s, wearing heavy makeup and begging for handouts. She secretly followed Robert Miller's activities, her resentment growing ever stronger. So she came back. First, she came to me to declare her claim, but seeing that I didn't get angry and confront Robert Miller, she could only turn to Robert Miller's dubious friends. The Miller family had originally been on the same level as them. Now, not only were they rising, they were also going public. Even if they didn't say it, they were jealous. Sarah Green was already very manipulative when it came to relationships. She individually seduced each of these men, and finally, they all got together and concocted a perfect scheme against Robert Miller. First, they collaborated with Sarah Green to stage a dramatic scene where the one he could never have was forced to go overseas and have an abortion for love. Robert Miller's guilt towards Sarah Green reached its peak. Then, the men casually dropped hints about the truth, that the Miller family's troubles had all been orchestrated by the Carter family. Of course, Robert Miller believed them. With so many people deceiving just him, how could he not? Just like that, Robert Miller came to hate me, and hate the Carter family. I stared at David, my face full of shock. He took out his phone and played a recording. No way, doing this to Robert Miller, is it really okay? The voice was that of the man who had first put his hands on me in the wedding suite that day. What's wrong? Why should his Miller family rebuild so quickly just because they had someone help them? What difference does it make if we mess with him a little? Besides, the Carter family's daughter. David quickly pressed pause. But I nodded at him, gesturing for him to continue. For us to mess with? Doesn't that tempt you guys? But Robert Miller, he's usually been. Shut up. Blame his family for suddenly doing so well, it made us green with envy. Besides, Robert Miller himself didn't trust his parents, didn't trust his wife. What's that got to do with us? Are there really friends like this? Growing up together, could they develop such deep resentment just because one person was doing better? Seeing my confused expression, David stroked my hair. Humans are the most complex creatures. Robert Miller doesn't have many good people around him. The words from the recording kept replaying in my mind. Yes, if Robert Miller himself had just asked his parents, if he had investigated himself, if he had believed me, things wouldn't have turned out like this. I didn't dwell on it any longer, nor did I feel any sympathy for Robert Miller. I heard that Robert Miller quickly uncovered the whole truth. He confined Sarah Green to their home, suppository Edley for the sake of the child she was carrying, but the only sounds coming from the room every day were Sarah Green's screams. Neighbors called the police, but Sarah Green wouldn't say anything. As for the good brothers who had conspired to deceive Robert Miller, without exception, they all ended up in the hospital. Their past dirt was suddenly exposed, bullying classmates, messing with company interns, causing accidents while racing and finding someone to take the blame. There was a constant stream of revelations. The families of some of the men had to step forward for crisis management, but it had little effect. It even alarmed the authorities, and authorities launched an investigation. My dad withdrew all help to the Miller family, and David also used his connections to intercept several orders from the Miller family. The board of directors wasn't stupid. The Miller family's plan to go public was on the verge of collapse. When David told me all this, I just nodded. It had nothing to do with me anymore. I didn't expect Robert Miller to have the nerve to come looking for me. I was reading in the garden at home when I looked up and saw his figure. Emily. 8.5 months since I last saw him, he had lost too much weight. His cheeks were sunken, and there were dark circles under his eyes. I turned to walk away, but he suddenly rushed in and grabbed my arm. I looked at him. Robert Miller, what do you want? Robert Miller gritted his teeth, trying to hold back his tears, but the moment our eyes met, he finally broke down, tears streaming out like a spring. Emily. I'm sorry. It's all my fault. I turned my head away, not wanting to see him like that again. Unexpectedly, he suddenly dropped to his knees with a thud, pulling my hand to slap his own face. It's all my fault, Emily. I'm a bastard. Just kill me, please, kill me. I pulled my hand away. Robert Miller, stop this. It's pointless. Robert Miller reached into his jacket pocket, Sutta. NLY pulling out a protection charm. He held it up in front of me. Emily, no, look, I've always worn the thing you embroidered for me. I love you. Loved me? I closed my eyes, trying to steady my breathing, then shouted at the man kneeling on the ground, what does it matter if you loved me? Have you forgotten what you did? I unlocked my phone, found the video that those so-called friends had sent me, and threw it at Robert Miller. Robert Miller, look at what I went through. How many men put their hands on me? If it hadn't been for the scissors my mom gave me for protection, I probably wouldn't be alive right now. The men's shouts and whistles from the video played. Robert Miller clenched his fists, his knuckles turning white. Emily. I'll make them pay. Robert Miller, they'll pay? If you had believed me, believed your parents, believed my family, would things have gotten this far? Robert Miller's eyes were red. Emily, leave. I never want to see you again. Robert Miller still wanted to say something, but his phone suddenly rang. Mr. Miller, it's bad. The madam's video, someone uploaded it online. Robert Miller's face turned ashen, his lips trembling slightly. He suddenly clenched his fist and slammed it onto the ground. Who was it? I bit my lip. The day I had imagined countless times had finally arrived. I pulled out my phone, but fumbled the password several times from nervousness. When I finally got it open, messages flooded in furiously. Emily Carter, is that you in the video? Emily Carter, how did you get filmed like that? The last message was from Sarah Green. Emily Carter, if I die, you won't live either. My phone fell to the ground. My eyes red, I looked at the man on the floor. Robert Miller, is this your revenge on me? Well, let me tell you, you succeeded. No. It's not like that, Emily, I didn't post it. I'll find out who did. It was Sarah Green. It must have been that bitch. I'll make her pay when I get back. Robert Miller grabbed my hand, begging nonstop. Robert Miller, don't ever let me see you again. As soon as I said that, Robert Miller practically scrambled away. Watching his retreating back, I crouched down, finally hugging myself, and cried loudly. The video online was quickly removed by my dad, but some people had downloaded it and were sharing it with others by describing it verbally. David sent out nearly 50 cease and desist letters, and many people finally realized the seriousness of the situation and stopped spreading it. Meanwhile, news came that Sarah Green had gone into premature labor after being beaten. When my dad came in, his face was beaming. Sarah Green gave birth. Ha ha ha. Seeing my confused expression, my dad exclaimed loudly, "It's a black baby." Sarah Green had always used her body to attract others. You can't walk by the river often without getting your shoes wet. My videos were indeed posted by Sarah Green. When Robert Miller went home to confront her, she initially denied it. But when presented with the evidence, she frantically explained that she was just angry Robert Miller had gone to see me. In the end, Robert Miller's slap triggered her premature labor. Robert Miller rushed her to the hospital, but when the doctor came out with the baby, a look of difficulty on his face, Robert Miller was stunned. There was no way a black baby could be his. Robert Miller turned and walked away. The moment Sarah Green woke up after the anesthesia wore off, she was frantically searching for Robert Miller. Upon learning the baby's skin color, Sarah Green immediately fainted. This incident quickly became a hot topic in their circle. Robert Miller became the laughingstock in everyone's eyes. How could Robert Miller not know? He probably didn't have the face to appear before me again. But somehow, Sarah Green suddenly appeared online, adamantly claiming I had swapped her baby. She even posted my video again and tagged my social media account. Confuse. Online gossips saw her, looking haggard after just giving birth, accusing me, and believed that was the truth. They flooded my account and started cursing. My exposed body, vaguely pixelated, was spread all over the internet. Slut, homewrecker, and similar comments multiplied. Until David posted a photo through his company account. Except for a single leaf covering his crucial parts, he was nearly naked, with the caption, "Victim blaming needs to stop." His status, doing something like that, shocked countless people and instantly drew a lot of attention. At this time, Robert Miller also stepped forward and published a statement, recounting the events of that day from start to finish. Netizens were furious. Damn, how can a guy be such a jerk? Doesn't trust his parents, doesn't trust his wife. If someone told him to die he'd rush right over. Drugging? Did I read that right? Where are the cops? Is there no justice left? The comments below were flooded with ads to police in various cities. Someone also dug up videos and photos of Sarah Green partying at nightclubs. In them, she was smiling broadly, with a black man on each arm. This further solidified the issue of her baby's skin color. I heard that many hateful notes appeared outside her hospital room. Some even dared to rush into the room and curse her. Having just given birth, she was overwhelmed with anger and stress and fainted several times. When the police summoned Robert Miller, he must have known what he had done. Assault, punishable by up to 3 years, especially since this incident had such a negative social impact. As he left, he had someone pass a message to me. Emily, I'm sorry. If you're sorry, then hurry up and sign the divorce papers. The judgment came down. Robert Miller was sentenced to 2 years in prison. Robert Miller's parents' hair turned white overnight from stress and worry. Running the company became difficult, and many technical staff resigned. The Miller Corporate, Ion, once thriving, was now on the verge of collapse. Sarah Green, due to excessive mental stress, drowned the baby in the pool one night while the nanny wasn't paying attention. She was sentenced to 7 years in prison for intentional homicide. The men who had assisted Robert Miller that day with the intent to sexually assault me were sentenced to prison terms of 6 months and 1 year respectively. When David told me the news, he was smiling. I looked him up and down, and my face fell. Was posting that photo fun? David's smile froze. He suddenly pursed his lips and pulled on my sleeve. No fun. Now we're the same, Emily. You have to keep me. Okay. I'll take you. For the rest of our lives.
Here Mrs. Thompson would throw $1,000,000 at me to make me leave her daughter. I had already planned it out in my head. I probably wouldn't have agreed to $1,000,000. After I saw Mrs. Thompson out, Victoria Thompson arrived shortly after. What did my mom say to you? She looked a little nervous. Nothing much. That's good. I was afraid you'd leave again like last time. I'm not leaving. I'm staying to be with you. While discussing the marriage arrangements, Victoria Thompson specifically brought my family from hometown. Except for the 2 brothers who were working, the rest all came. Seeing them, I felt like a stranger. After all, I was sent away at a young age, and there wasn't much family affection. Victoria Thompson also wanted my family to witness my wedding, and I was grateful to her for that. When my father and my mother came, I arranged a hotel for them, but they insisted on staying at the Song Mansion. Victoria Thompson complied with everything. Oh my, look, it just goes to show our Leo is capable. You'll be living in a big house like this from now on. They showed no shame about selling me back then. Instead, they were enjoying the benefits of the Song residence. It was as if selling me was for my own good, putting me in a place of fortune. Leo, we also came this time because we have something to discuss. Look, some of your brothers don't have very good jobs. Why don't you see about arranging something for them? After all, you'll be the head of the Song family/corporation in the future. Yes, Leo. Our house is also cramped. There's not enough space for the grandchildren at home. Your sisters who married poorly, still living at home. I heard you earned a lot. Help out with expenses, Leo? In my father's and my mother's eyes, there wasn't any sympathy for me, only full of calculation/selfish motives. You sold me into the Song residence back then. Have you lost your memory? How can you make so many demands of me? This is the Song residence. Do you think this is a marketplace? Demanding this and that. All these years, if they had even sent me a letter to ask how I was, I wouldn't be this angry. Hey, you can't talk like that, Leo. It was fate that you and Miss Song met, otherwise, how could we become related to establish ties with the Song family? You owe it to your father for paid the debt, otherwise, you wouldn't have gotten in, and you'd probably be like your brothers marrying someone ordinary/less successful. So I should be grateful to you? For selling me at such a young age. Victoria Thompson walked over and blocked me. All these years, I had actually longed for family affection, and she understood that about me. But my father and my mother weren't worth longing for at all. Uncle and Auntie, please stay here comfortably during this time. If you need anything, just tell the staff members. Okay, good. Thank you, daughter-in-law. They are your parents after all. Let bygones be bygones. Only by letting go of this issue can you live happily. I was unfortunate, sold off repeatedly at a young age. My heart felt bleak inside. But I was also fortunate that I met Victoria Thompson. Victoria healed my unhappy childhood. After marrying Victoria Thompson, I always patiently took care of her. I never let her do any strenuous tasks, nor did I ever say a harsh word to her. Several $100s. Not to mention driving a BMW car and carrying a bag worth $10,000 or $20,000. I got in the car first. Immediately after, I saw Brandon running out through the rearview mirror of the BMW car and hitting Hannah. You bitch. You caused my house to be seized. Where am I going to live in the future? Brandon was furious. Hannah had bought his high-end condo behind my back with our money. Naturally, I wouldn't let go of anything I could recover. It's just that all the money Hannah gave Brandon was lost by this kid in gambling. He owed millions of dollars in debt. I didn't expect to be able to recover it. Was this the life Hannah wanted? I was about to step on the gas and leave. Sophia suddenly appeared in front of me. She was still wearing the Chanel dress I had bought for her before, but it was dirty. She looked at me with pleading eyes. Dad, can you take me home? I won't hate you anymore in the future. I don't have anything to wear, nothing to eat. I was wrong. Dad, you used to love me the most. I hate Mom. She's the one who ruined me. Dad, when I turn adult and have a birthday in the future, can you give me a car like this too? I got out of the car and squatted in front of Sophia. My heart was very calm. I can support you to study until you graduate from college. Besides that, I'll give you $2,000 a month for living expenses, not a penny less. Go find your mom. I'm already scared. If I do it again, I'll go crazy. Sophia pursed her lips, stubbornly looking at me, refusing to leave the front of the car. Her eyes were filled with confusion. I hate Mom. I hate Brandon. Dad is the best to me. Dad, please don't be angry. I'll listen to you from now on. I miss my big bed. I live outside, and I won't be able to sleep. Until now, Sophia's words still showed that she couldn't bear the previous material life. Even if she sincerely showed me a trace of emotion, maybe my firm heart would soften. I pulled Sop Hia away and stepped on the gas, and left. It wasn't that I was too heartless. Once bitten by a snake, 10 years afraid of the well rope. I had lost confidence in marriage and in everyone around me. Maybe I would live my life in the way I wanted in the future, but I would never get married or have children again. In the following days, Hannah would bring Sophia to wait for me at the office gate every day. The newly hired security guards strictly followed my orders and didn't let them step into the office. No matter how they begged or how pitiful they were, I didn't give them a penny again. 3 months later, Hannah disappeared with Sophia. The last time I saw her was in a business club. I was discussing business with a friend at the time. When the club hostess was called in, I saw Hannah at first glance. She no longer had the pampered and superior air she used to have. All that was left in her eyes was exhaustion. Our eyes met. Hannah lowered her head in fear. My friends all quieted down. They also recognized Hannah and looked at me with complicated expressions. I waved to Hannah and took out a few $1,000s from my briefcase and put it on the table. Do you want it? But it's not free. If you come over and drink this bottle of whiskey, you can take it. Hannah didn't hesitate at all. She walked over and firmly grasped the few $1,000s and drank the bottle of whiskey in one breath. At this time, she probably understood that even a few $1,000s couldn't be obtained by sitting at home, applying face masks, eating diet salad, and asking for it. I'm sorry. Hannah looked at me, vicissitudes of life. She looked several years older. Are you still with that Brandon? I asked casually. Hannah nodded. He threatened me with videos and photos, asking me to work as a hostess in the club to earn money to pay off his debts. I laughed out loud. Didn't that grandson say he wanted to make money to support you? In this world, how could there be so many idiots? Hannah bit her lip hard. Tears were streaming down her face. Through her mentioning the things that had happened in the past few months, I learned that her parents' house had also been sold under Brandon's coercion and inducement. All the money was also taken by Brandon to pay off his debts. I took out a few $1,000s again in front of Hannah and put it on the table, asking those women who wanted it to dance for me. Hannah, do you see that? I can make these women please me and curry favor with me with just a few $1,000s. That night, I scattered tens of thousands of dollars in the club. I was carefree. I didn't have to worry about coming home late, not having time to spend with my wife and daughter. I didn't have to worry about not earning money to support them. I also didn't have to worry about raising a family of wolves in sheep's clothing. 14 Ever since Hannah and Brandon had a falling out, Brandon would beat and scold Hannah and Sophia every night. Sometimes he wouldn't even give them food. According to Hannah, Brandon hadn't given up yet. He kept telling them to find a way to ask me for money. When I heard that Brandon had taken all the $2,000 of living expenses that I gave Sophia every month for himself, I finally got a little angry. The next night, I called a few friends from society and blocked Brandon on the road he had to take after work, using a burlap sack to cover his head and teach him a hard lesson. Under their rental house, Brandon was beaten until his head was bleeding. I had so many ways to make his life worse than death to deal with this kind of little scoundrel. In today's society, money can make the devil push the millstone, but there is no need to play too hard. This was the life Hannah chose. Only when they faced the bloody society would they know that the place they lived in the beginning was simply paradise. The more remorse they felt, the more my angry mood could be calmed down a little. A few days later, I received a strange call. Brandon's voice came from the phone. Sean, I don't believe you have any feelings for Hannah and Sophia. I've been forced to a dead end. If you want them to live, give me $5 million in cash. At worst, I'll die with them. I asked Brandon with a sneer on the phone. Didn't you say you loved Hannah and wanted to make money to support them? Brandon laughed out loud. Sean, do you think I'm as stupid as you? If it wasn't because I valued Hannah's generosity and willingness to spend money for me, only an idiot would like this kind of old woman in her 30s who's loose and has no charm at all. Oh, and the way she flatters me in front of me, you probably haven't seen it in the 10 years you've been married to her. It's pretty interesting. I endured the bursts of sadness in my heart. In fact, in my heart, I already believed what Brandon said. Hannah could do it. I hung up the phone and called the police without hesitation. The current Hannah was not as important as a meeting or a drink with friends. You have to finish the road you choose, crying and kneeling. Just like I chose in the beginning, freedom and romance are built on money. Without money, there is only an endless vegetable market, endless cheap cosmetics, and endless firewood, rice, oil, and salt. It was because I understood this truth that I desperately earned money after I married Hannah. They were in freedom and love, but they still rushed to the abyss. Brandon underestimated my determination. He thought I would be foolish enough to take $5 million to find him and then wait for him to spend it all, the second $5 million, the third $5 million. Once something started, it would cycle forever. Maybe Brandon didn't expect that he would eventually not wait for the $5 million I brought, but the fully armed police. At this moment, Hannah also saw my decision. If she still had a little wisdom, she should understand that I would never look back. 15 That and I. GHT, Brandon surrendered voluntarily as soon as he saw the police. I had my assistant go to the scene and witness the whole process. Still, that sentence, Brandon was just a little scoundrel. He might have some ability to pick up girls and cheat money, but if he wanted to be tough, even if he had 2 more guts, he wouldn't be that kind of person. Brandon was sentenced to 7 years for kidnapping and extortion. To some extent, I also did a good thing, rescuing Hannah and Sophia from this scoundrel's hands. Half a year later, Hannah's family lived in poverty. The whole family was squeezed into a cheap rental house. Her parents, who had already resigned, one went to work as a sanitation worker, having to get up at 5 or 6 o'clock every day, and the other went to the factory gate to work as a security guard. The next time I saw Hannah was half a year later. I met Hannah, who was selling snacks on the street, on the way to the office for a meeting. She had no jewelry or designer clothes on her body. Her face was full of wrinkles, and there was no trace of her wealthy appearance. Seeing me stop the car and lower the window, Hannah looked at me and forced a smile. "How's Sophia doing?" I asked casually. Hannah nodded. "She's at school. Same old, same old." A moment of silence passed. Hannah burst into tears. "Sean, I regret it," she sobbed. "Now I understand how incredibly kind you were to us. I didn't know how good I had it. It turns out making money is so hard." She crouched on the ground, weeping uncontrollably. I gave a faint smile. I had let go of everything. "Hannah, what's missed is missed. There aren't that many chances for regrets in this world." The following year, Hannah got married. After all, she wasn't bad looking. She found a man, also divorced, and quite a few years older than her. I sold my office, too, and with the money, I decided to see the world. A person has to live for themselves sometimes. Eventually, in the Colorado mountains, I met a girl. Her eyes were pure, and she had 2 dimples when she smiled. We traveled together. After a year of silence in my heart, I felt a spark with this girl. I lied and told her I was just a small employee at an office, making $3,000 or $4,000 a month. The girl winked at me and said with a smile, "Quit your job when we get back. I'll take care of you." Just like I had said to Hannah once. It turns out you have to find someone worthy of your efforts. But the truth was too cruel. But Hannah was surprised to find that she had anger burning in her heart when she faced her mother's crying. She didn't want to forgive her mother, but she had no choice but to take care of her. So she agreed to the divorce. Could she keep it a secret from Xander forever, even if she put herself in his shoes? Hannah regretted it. She had made a terrible mistake, letting go of the person who loved her most, even without blood ties. Passing colleague and asked, "Do you want this tie for $50? The colleague smiled and said, "This brand is not cheap. Are you selling it to me?" I nodded. Then the colleague and I exchanged money for the tie. Howard Thompson's face turned pale as he watched the scene. How could you?" I chuckled and said, "Howard Thompson, isn't this how you treated me for the past 7 years? Do you think we can still get to the future?" Howard Thompson looked at me deeply, as if nailed to the spot. The next day, I heard from the restaurant where he worked that he had returned to the country. Not long after, news broke in the country that he was divorced. However, he never had any scandals again and became a diamond bachelor that everyone in the industry wanted to curry favor with. And my life and his gradually became parallel lines that would never intersect. The end. A new processing plant. During this period, David Miller was always with me, encouraging me. David Miller and I got married. He has a 15-year-old daughter who is very cute and likes me very much. Amid the hustle and bustle, my life became complete, with a husband, a child, and a career. Following the tide of reform and opening up, our family of 3 strode forward, leaving behind a trail of laughter and joy.